What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bingetown TV, the podcast that covers your favorite binge-worthy TV shows. This is Jim, and I'm here with Luke and Brian, and today we're continuing our coverage of The Last Kingdom Season 5. Previously, we covered the pilot, Seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4, and interviewed Alexander Villaume, who played Kiart the Cruel in Seasons 1 and 2. You can find all of our prior episodes on whatever podcast app you're listening to us on now, or you can check out BingetownTV.com. Today, we cover season 5, episodes 7 and 8. If you want to follow along with the rest of the season's coverage, please hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app or on your YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the episodes. So, this is it, guys. This is our last chance to give our theories. Penultimate, kind of, for us, because we're going to cover 9 and 10 next episode.
This was just the calm before the storm, baby. Like, we are putting all the chess pieces where they need to be, and it ended with some of the most epic TV I've ever seen. That last scene we got leading into these final two, I was ready to run through a wall. It's just like such a good culmination of this entire series. And these two episodes, like the last two were so chaotic that these two needed to be a little bit of a breather, get us right, set us up for Bebbanburg and all of that, and clear off some of the characters that were done with Brida and just like get ready for the final fight. And I thought these were fantastically done as always. And it was just nice not having any of our characters die since the last time we talked.
Yeah, none of our homies died, even though, spoiler alert, I was a little worried for Finnan when he talked back to the king in episode 8.
Oh yeah.
But yes, some props are due here. Dave, our boy, is not here, but he should deserve some props because he said that Stiorra would kill Brida. Give him those props. And Luke deserves some props because you said you were very, very nervous, and it just seemed like Stiorra was turning into Brida. And even Uhtred says it coming out of his mouth that Stiorra is turning into Brida. So you two, good job, homies.
Yep. B-Towns, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was definitely good to get some closure on Brida with 2 episodes left. I don't think any of us wanted her to hang around till the end, so I'm glad they wrapped up that storyline. And like you said, Luke, the stars are aligning, the people are going where they need to be, and destiny is bringing us back to Bebbanburg of all places. Yeah. I'm really amped for these next 2 episodes. And these were 2 really entertaining kind of transition episodes to the end game of the season. So I'm ready to get into the conversation.
Okay, we can start us off in episode 7 with the first bucket of plot that we're going to go through. And this is going to be quick hitters here, only a couple scenes that we have to talk about. This is the Aelswith, Edith, and Aelfwynn couple scenes that we get. And this is just all set up to eventually get Aelfwynn into a position where she's on her way to Bebbanburg under Ethelhelm's control. But this is the whole I guess completion of the arc for Bressel as well, because he does catch Aelfwynn in one of the most obvious traps ever. Like, Jesus, man. I was like, are you fucking kidding me here? And then Edith comes in, tries to save the day, but then it ends up they get taken away by Ethelhelm's goons here. And then we all know what happens is that scene on the road where Aelswith has the wrath.
She slays them. She's like, run away before I slay you too. And I was dying, actually, because, when do you ever get anything that can make you laugh from Aelswith, even though she did in the next episode have a funny line as well. And, she's stabbing the guy, blood all over Edith's face, exploding all over her face pretty much. And then, she's like, I felt like whatever, like Saint Michael. I don't even know what the hell she said.
Saint Michael casting the armies of the dead or of darkness.
Yeah, something about
Archangel.
The devil. Yeah, I saw Archangel in there, or heard Archangel in there, but I was just dying laughing. Her first kill, and then she turns around holding it like this, like.
and the kid, like, I loved Aelswith.
You've always loved her, man. I know you
since the beginning. This might have been the best 2 episode stretch for Aelswith in the entire series,
and that's why I'm pissed that Dave's not on this one. Because he hates her the most. But yeah, it was funny, and I was actually gonna be like, what the heck, when the kid runs away, because I was like, really, you're scared of Aelswith? And then he actually takes Aelfwynn, which was good. And then
I'm shocked,
like you said,
that they decided to make Bressel die, because it would have perfectly made more sense to me just to have the kid be the one get killed, and then Bressel takes Aelfwynn to Bebbanburg and continues. But that was just another shocker that this show is famous for doing for specific characters. And Bressel, I'm happy nothing good ever happened for him, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you said, Luke, that was the culmination of the entire arc for Edith, Aelswith, and Aelfwynn for
Mhm.
now. And I guess we can move on from them until
Yeah,
a
I
little
mean,
bit
we always
later.
knew Aelfwynn was going that way. Like, if she was going to stick around and be a character and not be the heir to Mercia, this was like her only part left in the show. So, and
Yep.
I was a little nervous for Edith, more in the city when she starts trying to defend before they get taken onto the road. I was a little bit nervous, but thankfully she gets out unscathed because she's just a beast. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a pretty quick bucket. Next, we're going to jump on to the second part of the Aelfwynn plan coming from the Kingdom of Scotia side. And this is everything that happens in King Constantine's palace,
Mhm.
including all of the stuff with Whitgar, because he's there and he's gaining more knowledge and watching Ethelhelm and forming a super negative opinion of him, and then vice versa, because Ethelhelm starts shitting on Whitgar to his face. So like they kind of hate each other. But basically, Ethelhelm shows up and presents his plan to King Constantine, who at first is very standoffish, as he should be, because this dude's coming with no gift, no gift.
Yeah.
So
No
he
info either. Pretty much.
exactly
That's at
gives
first.
him
Like,
nothing, gives him
yeah.
nothing.
He was the messenger with absolutely no information. And then when Constantine's like, if you're a messenger with no information, you know what I'm going to do to you. Like, what do you
Mhm.
got for me? And he says, well, here's this deal. And as it turns out, he has a very appealing deal for King Constantine. And what does Constantine say? You know, you've piqued my interest, and that's something worth recognition. You know, that's a hard thing to do. So what is the entirety of the deal? It's marrying him into kind of a partner or an alliance with Mercia, giving him the Mercian lands through Aelfwynn.
Yep.
Yep.
And what is the
Ethelhelm gets his part of the bargain is that he gets to put his grandson as a proxy on the throne of Wessex.
yes.
And
Yes.
pretty much, yeah, Ethelhelm pretty much said, like, once he's on the throne, we just care about like Winchester, Wessex.
Yeah.
You can do your own thing with Mercia. So yeah, it spreads out Constantine's reign, and he has that tie to Mercia. But I like Constantine's actor a lot. I thought he was great in this episode. His interactions with Ethelhelm were really, really good.
Yeah, he's a good leader to add to this world, and it just makes complete sense, giving that extra threat. I still am way more worried about Whitgar, and because he seems like he's unhinged and he can do anything at any point. And Constantine does seem a little bit more level-headed. He's just taking the opportune time that Ethelhelm's putting at his feet about all this chaos going on for Edward. So he just seems way more rational and, you know, like an evil Alfred. I don't want to give him that much respect, but you know, he's way more like Alfred than he would be like Whitgar, who's going to be just crazy.
I wouldn't say he's unhinged. Whitgar seems to have a plan and is calculated. I think he's just a lot more likely than other characters to make, very, very bold moves.
That's true.
And I told this to Luke before Jimmy came on, but I'm starting to think that Whitgar might be the one that gets the inevitable Ethelhelm kill, because Ethelhelm's got to die. I think Whitgar might be the one to take him out.
Yeah, I like that. They're building it. I mean, I'm actually surprised. I get it. Ethelhelm, as soon as he gets Constantine's favor, he is just doing what he does. He just loves like being the big dog or having so much favor with whether it's the King Edward, Alfred at the time when the daughter was betrothed, whatever it is. Now he has the favor of Constantine, and he just starts talking down to Whitgar. And I'm like, dude, you just luckily by the skin of your teeth survived whatever it was. Just the whole thing with Edward. You're lucky that Constantine took this deal, and now you're starting shit with Whitgar. You don't even know who this guy is. He could tear you up.
And I was laughing out loud at this part too, because when Ethelhelm finds out that Whitgar's of Bebbanburg, he's like, "You're the one that has been fucking with Uhtred." He just like belly laughs, looks him in the eye, and just turns around and walks out. And this is after finding out that the last part of the deal that he makes with King Constantine is that Ethelhelm is going to be sent to Bebbanburg until the next phase of the plan's complete. So it's like, you're going to be surrounded by this dude in his home with all of his badass warriors from across the world, and you're just shitting on him to his face, and he's crazy. Like, I don't know, Ethelhelm's crazy.
He continues to do it throughout the episodes too, while he's in Bebbanburg. It is very unexpected. I wasn't really expecting that from Ethelhelm at all.
He doesn't take him seriously, nor does he think him a threat, and that could be his undoing in the end.
I agree,
because I think in the grand scheme of the show, Whitgar is more endgame than Ethelhelm.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Do you think that there's a chance that Whitgar makes it out of this season, or is that off the table? Like, is Bebbanburg going to be under Uhtred by the end? Because if he is, I
think
have
so.
no
I think-
idea what the movie's going to be about.
One thing, and Luke, I propose this to you, is that I'm not sure if the movie is going to take place in the same timeline. Like, they could skip ahead 30 years and have like a grown-up Stiorra. Whitgar's relatively young. He could be like grown up in his 50s. And then Uhtred could be finally maybe aged out of being able to do things. Like, he would be 180, but in the show, he would only be like 95. So still too old. So if they do that, then I don't know what to expect in the movie. And Whitgar could survive this season, is what I'm trying to say, and make it into the movie if they want him to be a major player in that. I'm just not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the movie would be named something different if it was only the end game of the movie to be Bebbanburg. I just feel like the show's end game is going to be Bebbanburg, and then, I mean, I've heard news that they're saying that the movie can stand alone almost.
Okay.
And not necessarily like, I mean, they kind of did say like you can watch the entire show or not and still watch the movie. So I don't know exactly what that means. I would still assume Uhtred's in it. We saw him, Alexander Draymond, filming and everything, but I just think that the show is going to end full circle with Bebbanburg, and then they're going to do their own thing with the movie, and it's probably based on the fact that I heard that it's going to be standalone.
I'd be fine with that. I think that sounds right. And also, though, just to add a feather to the cap of B-Tom's theory, it is possible that the Uhtred scenes are flashbacks, but
Yeah, 100%.
But I don't want that though. Like, I feel like he is so iconic at this point.
Well,
Uhtred,
they could like I said, finally age him up to give him like full on gray hair, make him like bedridden, so he can only be like an advisor, and he's just like old, decrepit in his chair, but still this awesome old
could be
warrior
Raven.
Full of. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, exactly.
I can get behind that,
Raven.
actually.
Yeah, he could be
That's
Raven,
not too
man.
bad.
So yeah, this is just us speculating about what the movie's going to be. But to bring us back to Scotland, what else is there to say? I mean, Aelswith arrives after his blow up with Edward.
Well, he's on the way to Bebbanburg, and that doesn't. So he does leave this episode from York to get to basically meet up with Ethelhelm, Whitgar, and Aelfwynn eventually.
Right,
Bebbanburg.
right.
But right now,
Gotcha.
there's nothing more to add for this piece for episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're ready, we could jump right into the main part of this episode being in York, because we get a lot of interactions here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is a continuance of remembering Sigtrygr, and Stiorra is like leading this whole, funeral like ceremony. It's pretty cool. Like, I didn't even know what was going on with them breaking down his sword. That was just kind of cool, because that felt a little bit like who was it when in Game of Thrones, whose sword did they break down to 2 Valyrian seals to give?
Ice. They took
Ned Stark.
Ned's.
Yeah. So they broke down his sword. They buried him with it. That's the first time we've seen a Viking funeral like that, right?
Because wasn't he like? Didn't they put him in a boat and then bury the entire boat in a mound of dirt?
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I was thinking, because she's like on the boat, and then she's saying like sail and Valhalla and all this stuff, and I'm like, so are they like gonna do like the thing from Game of Thrones in the two rivers, the Riverlands, where they put him on the boat and then like light it on fire with the arrow or something?
So
like that's
cool.
what I was
when
expecting.
Tully, Blackfish,
Tully.
Blackfish
Yeah.
destroys it. Yeah, that was a really freaking cool scene.
Yeah.
The bad
I
uncle
thought it was
like
gonna be like
misses
that.
3 times, doesn't he?
Yeah, Edmure
yeah.
misses. He stinks, dude.
But anyway, that happens in the beginning. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll take any remembrance for Sigtrygr. He's the best Dane of all time. So past that, though, we see the Stiorra is still dealing with this in a terrible way, and she's going down the Brida route. That's starting to build more and more.
And Edward sees that too, and he starts getting to thinking, okay, well, if she doesn't swear allegiance to me, how am I supposed to know it doesn't just end up being Brida 2.0, which is when he has the presence of mind to discuss it with Uhtred, who is obviously arguing on behalf of Stiorra, and they come to the conclusion that Stiorra could be a reasonable leader for the Danes up in Northumbria, hold it down in Everwich, under the condition that Edward would still be the overlord. So essentially, Stiorra could continue being what Sig Trigger was and lead the Danes just under Edward, which, this is a bad look for Stiorra when she ends up declining this proposal. I thought it was a slam dunk, and she even kind of agreed in the private conversation between her and Uhtred. She seemed like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And then when it's finally brought to court in front of Edward, it's an affront when she declines. Edward looks up at Uhtred and says, I thought she was already agreed. Like, what the hell, bro? And Stiorra's just putting Uhtred in a really bad position after sticking his neck out for her. And I think it's just going down that Brida road. And it's really upsetting for a character I once had a lot of respect for in Stiorra.
It was another case of Edward being so smart, and politically savvy. Because I agree with you, B-Toms. It was the perfect response from him. And it should have been an absolute win all around. It should have been a win for Uhtred for brokering, a win for Stiorra because she finds some sort of peace and stability, and then a win for Edward because he's completing Alfred's part of that dream. It was just such an easy layup. Just fucking say yes, Stiorra.
Yeah, and let's not forget our boy Aldhelm. He was the one who came to Edward at first and said, there's a lot of unrest here. There needs to be something done. And I think it is Edward that makes the plan, right? It's just Aldhelm that tells him, because Edward wants to leave. He's like, I'm out, man. I need to get back to... Because he's thinking at this point still that Ethelhelm could be going for Winchester. He's like, I got to get out of here.
Right.
So Aldhelm is like, I don't know. That's the right idea, man. This is very tense here, And then I think they're talking about Stiorra and stuff. But you're absolutely right, man. She totally embarrassed or, caused a lot of problems with Edward and Uhtred. And I loved how when she starts talking and she starts running it back and saying she's not gonna kneel and stuff, he grabs onto the chair and he starts squeezing it and he's getting pissed.
Yeah,
I was like, this is awesome.
Dude, I wrote in my notes when the initial plan from Edward and that Aldhelm conversation happens and they say Uhtred, we're gonna make her Stiorra the leader. I swear if she denies this, she's just a bottom tier character. And she hit that bottom tier and just floored it. Keep going down and down and down as these two episodes happened. I was just so disappointed in her because I remember just gassing her up in season 4 as such a good addition to the cast and me loving her. But now she is just Brida.
I think she'll turn back. I think she'll be fine before.
I hope so.
I don't think they're going to pull a Brida twice, but a full Brida twice. She obviously is going Brida now, but I think she'll turn back. But did she dip up? She dipped, and then did she do this a little bit? She give a little peek for you when she killed Brida, or are you just
I don't know, man. I still,
because that is betrayal to Uhtred,
I prioritize Uhtred's emotions over anything, and when he's sad like that, even though I wanted Brida dead like that, I still just felt it was the wrong way.
Should we talk about that yet, or should we wait?
No, we'll get.
Okay, let's wait because I have something I wanted to ask you guys, but we'll wait.
All right. So to clean up a couple of other things happening in the background as these main conversations about Stiorra are happening, is Pyrlig shows up. And he's alive, so I was totally wrong about this. But I did think I was still going to be right because I thought he was going to deliver the news, then die in bed, and I would have been.
Oh yeah, yeah. I agree. I thought that was going to be the thing. I didn't think he was going to make it.
Yeah, but he's too much of a warrior, and he's a fucking savage. So I'm happy that Pyrlig gets to live because he has an amazing conversation with Uhtred later. So that happens, and Uhtred's ready just to hunt Brida the fuck down. He's got the crazy look in his eyes, and that pressure is starting to build. So stepping away from that for a second, we have the conversation in between Edward coming up with the Stiorra plan and Stiorra rejecting it is all the stuff with Lady of Scent, who
Lady
again,
Kent. Lady 2 cents, dude.
Lady 2 cents.
50 Cent.
Still can't remember her name.
Edgifu. Yeah, I still like Lady Kent, but I think it is Edgifu now.
What did you guys think about that scene though? Because she was she started that conversation so whack, oh, I'm scared of your wrath. I don't want you to kill me and my baby.
Well, she doesn't say the baby part first. So she goes, I'm scared of your wrath. And I was like, damn, this is kind of like a turn. Not necessarily a heel turn, her turn of villainous, but I was like, this is definitely a character change based on one episode because she was all about Edward and she's saying, don't be a good person, be a good king, meaning, give your wrath if you need to, pretty much. And when she said that, I was like, what's going on here? I don't understand. And as soon as she said the baby thing, I was like, oh, okay.
I was so
But
confused too, and then it made a lot of sense.
yeah. And then I mean, you guys both weren't surprised when he was like, all right, I'm gonna queen you then, right? Or
I
did you
wasn't
think
surprised. I just like it. I don't know. I lost respect for Edward and how he went about it. Like Edward or Aelswith, the kid's name, his
Aelfwynn.
Aelfwynn, there it is. Aelfwynn was anyway. Aelfwynn was kind of right in seeing them getting wed by Benedict and being like, "What the heck, dude? My mom just got buried. You're already moving on to the woman you were like betting with her. Like, am I really that out of the picture?" So Edward totally forced Aelfwynn's hand, and Edward was just like, "This betrayal by my son is unparalleled. I guess he's out of the heir of succession." Which, yes, that was the move, but like, come on, we all know why you're making that decision. You prefer the Lady of Kent. Just be real with them. Be like, okay, you're out of here. I don't know.
I still don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. Like, I don't know if this is because I keep saying every podcast episode I'm a little sketched out by.
I don't think there's any more time. I think she's been good enough.
Yeah. I like her way more than I liked the queen, the past queen. Like, fuck her. I don't know.
She seems to give good counsel. She seems to be nice. Like, she's really nice to Aelswith in the second episode, even though Aelswith's being mean to her. Like, I think the Lady of Kent is fine. Like, I don't think there's time for her to really turn bad or anything. I think she's just a lady who loves Edward, got pregnant, knew they weren't married, knew she was the mistress, and was scared that he was gonna flip out, and she just was gonna go home and have the baby in secret. And then he says, "I want to marry you. You're gonna be my queen." She's living the dream.
Yeah.
But I still don't know, and I'm not even gonna try again. I'm sick of this freaking little bastard's name, but he's not a bastard, but the king's son,
Aelfwynn.
Okay, I can remember that. Aelfwynn, he should be slighted, like you said, Brian. Like, he should be pissed. You know, it was sketchy, but I don't necessarily think that Edward was full on saying like, all right, Lady of Kent's my new queen, and this kid is going to be the next king. I still think Aelfwynn would have been his next option, but Aelfwynn took that as like a slight too, like, I'm out. I don't know. I still think
this is the scene that he gets the most lines he's had of the entire show, and it completely reinvented my image of him in my head because we knew nothing about him besides he couldn't fight, and he was just like this little pampered grandson of Ethelhelm. So we knew nothing about him, and honestly, he had more balls than I thought he did. Like, when he started talking and he says to Benedict, like, "You're gonna take me to Bebbanburg. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm no longer important to King Edward." And he seems to have a little bit of the Ethelhelm ambition in him, but I still don't think there's enough time to really build him up to be anything more than Ethelhelm's plan.
Yeah.
I think he's getting caught in a really bad position because, you know, he does have redeemable qualities. When he and Ethelstan had that conversation, and I thought it was going to be so awkward, but he completely takes the high road. Like, how could I forget the dude that offered his life for mine, like, way back when? He's cool. He's just like Ethelhelm's bloodline, so, you know, he's obviously going to be a villain, but I
don't hate him.
I think he's going to wind up dying because he's aligning himself with the people that he is. But I don't know how safe he would have been under Edward, because as the years progress, Aelfwynn is like this sickly, pampered child from his former queen. You know, what eventually is going to happen there? Edward obviously favors Ethelstan more than Aelfwynn. He's probably going to favor the kid with the Lady of Kent more than Aelfwynn, and Aelfwynn's just going to be the odd man out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it totally makes sense that if you're a kid, especially, and you walk in and you see your dad getting remarried, it's totally acceptable to have a freak out, pretty much, especially back in the day when you're just like, I already have a brother who's Ethelstan and my dad won't say all this time that I'm the Ethling. He just won't say it. And they talk about it a lot in the earlier episodes. There's only a few words that come out of his mouth, and it's like him talking to Ethelhelm, being like, why won't father call me the Ethling and stuff? Ethelhelm has to say like, oh, well, you know, nobody wants to admit they're getting older and they might die. That's the reason, when really he doesn't know if it's Ethelstan or this kid.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's fine that he freaks out, and I think that he doesn't realize it all, and we'll get to it later. He just doesn't realize that his Ethelhelm's a POS. Like, he just thinks that Ethelhelm, he's buying everything that he's saying, and even when we get to the point later when he's talking to Ethelfled's daughter,
Aelfwynn?
Aelfwynn.
Jeez, Aelfwynn. He's starting to actually like believe everything Ethelhelm is saying, and he starts like coming at her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I agree. I think he's done. He won't. I don't think there's enough time to make him anything big. I think Ethelhelm's the big dog, and he's, I don't know if he dies or not, but it's
not looking good.
Yeah, it's
Not
not
looking
looking
good.
for him.
I think that's all the time I want to spend talking about Elf Weird. If you guys are good to move on.
Absolutely. Because there's a
and
couple important things. Yeah, if you have something to bring up, go ahead.
No, nothing. You said you were just cleaning up the background conversations before the big scene with Brida.
Yeah, because there's one other thing that gets talked about here in at the end of the Stiorra rejecting Edward's offer in front of everybody, including Uhtred, is what Edward does in response to her rejection is he says, okay, then you're completely exiled. You and everybody that follows you out of York by like the end of the day, or you're going to basically die. And like Uhtred can't fight back on this because Stiorra just made this whole scene, and I think Edward's right to do this again. It's basically the same situation with Sigtrigger. He offers the rational and logical solution. They reject it. He has no choice but to be a king and say like, okay, then you're gonna die. Like, what else do you want me to say here, right? Like, so I think every time Edward gets put in these situations, I just love how he reacts because it's always so well written and reasonable for what his character would actually do. So again, he follows through with that theme of making rational decisions here and kicks Stiorra out of York. But the worst thing about this entire episode to me was right here when Edward's a little flustered and he starts saying to Uhtred, like, okay, well then I'm gonna fucking make Sigbro the king. That part right there, I was like, oh, I hate that you said that.
Yep.
Uhtred talks him off it though a little bit.
Yeah, but he does it anyway. And then even when he's talking to Aldhelm, he's like, all right, if Sigbro doesn't work out, I'll get somebody else, and then somebody else, and then somebody else. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm the king. I'm the overlord. Somebody's gonna somebody's gonna do what I want them to do. And that's it. I'm gonna keep moving on until I get the person I want.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder too, like Uhtred had to speak up in the middle of this whole Stiorra thing and be like, Edward, like king, you spared her. Like, please, you spared her. Remember that.
Yeah.
Like he could have just been like, all right, give me your head. Because she did like slight him in front of everybody.
Yeah.
When you I get what she's doing because she's purposely doing that so that she can just be strong in front of the Danes and be like, this is not the right thing. And Sigtrigger wouldn't want me to do this and blah, 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 blah. But she could have easily just been like, yo, Dad, can you go tell Edward I just can't do it? You don't have to freaking slight him in front of his entire peeps, So she's lucky Uhtred stood up for her.
For sure. No, she fumbled the bag. They're never going to get this deal again. And it's come and gone. And that's all on Stiorra. So I'm not sure how. I agree with you, Jimmy. I think she is going to turn back to the light, but I'm not sure what she's going to be able to do to regain her reputation in that sense.
She's currently on the dead to me character list, so I don't fucking care about her.
For sure.
Oh my gosh. The dead to me list is a tough list to be on, man.
Dude, yeah. Brida, at least we see there's always room for more when Brida gets pulled off, and Stiorra just fits right into that perfectly.
Is Aelswith on that list?
Honestly, dude, she's funny now.
Yeah, she's had a strong season.
She wasn't
5.
even wearing gloves when
this
she
is
put that
easily
guy
her
out.
best season, and she
yeah.
still sucked in the beginning a little bit. She had some quips that made me like, "Fuck you," but not talking about her anymore. So at this point, like, so much chaos is going on for Uhtred. Like, he's dealing with the rejection of Stiorra. He's dealing with Edward freaking out a little bit, and he also has the knowledge about Brida right now.
Yeah,
and so he decides that he's going to ride out and meet her because he knows where she is. I forget what is the catalyst that gives him the information that he knows that she's at Leeds.
So she
Kierlake,
takes
right.
No,
but that happened
she,
so much earlier.
Yeah, no. She has those 2 guards that are in the woods looking for her, and she takes one and ties him to the horse, and then rides the horse back, and then the guy says, "Meet me here," and it's back where it all started, where their original camp was that got burned down by Kjartan.
Right.
Yes. Okay. And so as Uhtred gets this information, he knows, he's like, I know exactly where she is. And he's about to ride out, and he has one more confrontation with Uhtred Jr. here. And he knows that it's going to be a trap. What he says is, of course it's a trap. Our destinies have been entwined since we were children. Either she kills me or I kill her. And I love all of that because fuck yeah. But of course, before he gets out, there's the one line that changed the entire trajectory of what was going to happen in the end. And it's just Uhtred Jr. saying, like, promise me you're not going to kill her, right?
Yeah.
Like that. If he didn't say that, I really thought Uhtred was just going to slay Brida. But because he said that, I was like, zero chance. Like, he's not killing her.
And he kind of said what I was saying in the last episode that we kind of didn't want, where I was like, all right, her redemption arc, like if they keep her alive, she obviously can't get away without being put in jail or something. And even young Uhtred says, Dad, don't slay her, don't kill her. You know, we can imprison her, but just leave her alive, please. Promise me you'll leave her alive because you shouldn't do this. You don't want to actually do this. And then he says, you know, I'll take no
pleasure. Yeah,
I'll take no pleasure in what I have to do.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Uhtred doesn't promise not to kill her, so that's why I kind of thought, you know, maybe he will be able to do the deed. I think it was episode 7. Wait, episode.
This is episode 7.
Yes, I think it was episode 6 where Uhtred said, you know, it's my destiny to kill her. Maybe it's my destiny alone to take her out. And Uhtred Jr. said, you know, maybe it's not your destiny. That's what clicked it off, because destiny is all. If young
Destiny is so all, dude.
If he is putting it out into the universe, saying explicitly, maybe that is not your destiny, I was just like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, well, that's another reason why Stiorra is dead to us, because she says destiny's not all, man. She's like, dude, it's so not all, bro.
We'll get to that. Believe me, we will get to that.
Pause real quick though, because Dave is here and he has just finished his watch of episode 7 and 8. So I wanted to give him a quick second to throw in his thoughts, because we're just about to cover Brida versus Uhtred. Okay.
And I, for one, really appreciated kind of just the setting, how they were back where it all started in Ragnar the Fearless's camp with the what would you call that building? The
home base.
Yeah, the home base, the main cabin.
That's where they hide the flag when you're playing
the long
Capture the
home,
Flag.
whatever you want to call it. You know, you could still see just kind of the foundation of that building. You knew exactly where it was. The flashbacks we were getting, as you know, with each swing of the blades, you know, just seeing young Brida before the braids, just when she was an innocent, smiling, redheaded girl before like all of this nonsense started, and when their lives were happy. And I appreciated those glimpses back to really appreciate how far we've made it and come.
Yeah. Before we go any further, we got a special surprise. Dave's back on the pod, baby.
Literally
we didn't think we were going to have him today. We got him.
Finished the episode 5 minutes ago, and episode 8 rather, and these 2 episodes were incredible. I'll just say,
hold off on some of your opinions. Just take us into what you were thinking of episode 7 so far, up until Brida and Uhtred, and then you'll just jump.
Well,
right back
Dave,
in.
I just want to let you know that I gave you your props because you said Stiorra was going to kill Brida. We made sure to give you the props in the intro. So good job for you, homie. What else? What are you thinking for this episode so far?
That was the only thing I was really going to harp on, is just the fact that
you're the man and you guessed it right.
I figured it was going to be Stiorra killing Brida, but I was upset by the context in which it happened, because the way she did it now, as you guys have, I'm sure, already talked about, has led to Stiorra now becoming the new Brida, which I'm not crazy about. But I was hoping it would have been in a better fashion that would have led to Brida or Stiorra and Uhtred having a better relationship. But it sucks to see her go down this path, but
overall thoughts though, like episode 7.
Episode 7 was crazy. We're about to talk about it. The fight was great.
Pure League lives.
Yeah, great to see him living. He has a great moment with Uhtred in episode 8. So,
what do you think about Edward with his new child on the way?
I'm glad that he made the decision to just wed her right away rather than just worrying about having another bastard on his hand. I think, of course, a lot of people are going to hate on that, how quickly he's going to wed after the death of his wife. Example, what's his name? Aelfwynn. Yeah. But I thought it was a good decision. I didn't want Edward to have another bastard roaming the lands, so I think it was a good move.
True. And then how about Aelswith, because she catches a body
Yeah, she
catches a vibe.
slays
Yeah.
somebody.
What was the quote?
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah, we were trying to figure it out earlier. Yeah.
It was so
he
funny.
felt my wrath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over exaggerated a little bit, but good for her. Aelswith, I'll give her credit. She's been very good these past couple episodes. Still
S tier character.
No.
best top of the list. Top.
From F to D, probably.
There you go.
All right, that's fine. We said a couple episodes and even seasons ago that she was gonna have to do like so much to move up from being an F. So
exactly. Let's get into this fight though, because I did really enjoy this battle.
Dude,
So-
this fight was fucking amazing, man.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was.
so it was hitting on every single emotional level for me. B-Times, you said it so well. Like the integration of all the flashback scenes as they're fighting, and just like the epic music that Last Kingdom always does. It's like in the theme song too, just like the choir in the background, and just always the emotion on Uhtred's face and his character. I just felt so strongly for this. Like his whimpering while they're fighting was making me like get chills everywhere. And it was just such a good moment for these two. And I hate Brida, but this was such a rewarding scene in Leeds, right near where Ragnar, the OG, died. I forget his name.
the
Fearless. Yeah. Just this was everything I could have wanted until the last 5 seconds, but like it was just so freaking good. And Uhtred, man, I'll die for him.
Honestly, though, when you say up to the last 5 seconds, I think the last 5 seconds kind of saved it because
No, it was good.
like you didn't want that situation where Uhtred actually says like we're two halves and we can come back and there's hope and we'll figure this out and everything's gonna be okay and let's bring it back to York and it's all good.
Yeah.
No, like we didn't want that. I mean, yeah, we don't want Stiorra's heel turn to turn into the new Brida, but I do think that we're all happy here that she ended up dying, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I walked down, this is probably an hour and a half ago. I walked downstairs to set up for the podcast and I see Dave watching the last 5 minutes of episode 7. And I'm going to watch with you. And as the scene's going on, Dave is pretty much predicting everything without even knowing. He's like, oh, like, I don't want the redemption to happen. And he's like, oh, Stiorra, I hope she kills her. And then right away, like the arrow comes in. Like it was actually amazing watching you like go through those predictions. It was still a shock factor because you didn't think it was going to happen, but you were just saying these things.
There was it was looming over me, the possibility of Brida having a redemption arc. You guys were just talking about it. Young Uhtred is talking to Uhtred, and then Uhtred's having these flashbacks. And I really didn't think he was going to go through with it, which is why I was hyped that Stiorra came in and finished the job because her arc was closed. Like there was no need to have that redemption arc. She already had shut that down in the past couple episodes. So looking back, it was easy to see that she wasn't going to make it out of the fight and that Stiorra was going to come in. But let me tickle the fancies of some of our anime fans, because this fight really reminded me of the Kakashi Obito fight from Naruto. If you guys have watched that one, Kakashi and Obito were like childhood friends, basically longtime rivals, and then they end up being good versus evil. And Kakashi, during the fight, they're having this fight, and it's flashing back to them fighting as kids.
Yeah.
And that still is my favorite fight in Naruto. And because of the reasoning of how they were able to flash back at perfect, like synchronized movements of the fight. And it did that here. And that's why I'm going to say this is one of my favorite fights, honestly, of the whole show.
Brida held it down. Like we've been giving her credit every time she's been being shitty. She can at least fight.
Yeah, but I also like the fact that Uhtred was taking care of her, and he could have finished it at any point. Like when he's smashing down with his sword over and over, like she's blocking, but really he's taking his rage, knowing he's not going for the actual kill.
Yeah,
you know, he's just slamming it down on her and letting her block it and just going harder and harder.
No, the one thing I wanted to say is Luke watched, like we said, Luke was watching me, and when Stiorra let the arrow fly and Brida went down, I was actually really hoping that Uhtred was going to give her a weapon. I really actually wanted her to get to Valhalla.
Oh, yeah.
Dave was freaking out. He's like, give her a sword, give her a sword, give her a sword.
We hate the character, but I really did think that in this final shot, of course, she deserved to have Valhalla and be with her child. And she was kind of sitting there lifeless for a second. I really didn't think they were going to give her the sword in time, but thankfully they did. So I was happy that they were able to get her to Valhalla.
I love that.
Yeah.
You have to give a lot of props to the writers, the creators, whoever actually decides these flashback scenes, because we talked about a million times. there's 5 seasons of Brida and Uhtred, and there's not a lot of times that we liked Brida.
Yep.
If you go all the way back to season 1, Brida gave Uhtred good counsel in the first episode, like Brian said, where she says, stop and don't go to Bebbanburg, go to Ubba and take care of it. From that moment on, like when they get to Winchester, she's pretty much annoying, I mean, as people who are Uhtred's homies, because she's kind of thwarting him by accident the entire time until she actually does go, quote unquote, bad. But I was feeling it. Like I was getting the feels from these flashbacks. Like it was making me go, all right, like you're almost making me forget that I think that she didn't deserve any redemption and stuff. And I was feeling some good stuff with these flashbacks and her emotions and the acting from both actors. And it was good. And you forget how young she looked when they're doing the first flashbacks. She's like saying, give me a kiss or whatever.
It was good, man.
It was good. It was good.
It was a great close to a terrible storyline. That's all it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We talked about it a million times. We don't think she deserved the redemption. We don't think that Uhtred did enough to her to make her hate him this much. And it was still a little confusing during this whole thing because you could have fixed this entire thing by just saying that her purpose for being such a biatch and going after him was because she wanted him to go after her and kill her and send her to Valhalla because she has nothing left. But the problem is that that's her inspiration after Vivica dies. But before she dies, she still castrated Uhtred and went for Stiorra. So that's not an acceptable reason.
Yeah.
You still can't use that as your reason. So there's still not really, a great reason for Brida to be how she was.
I think Luke put it the best way in the last episode. The writers kind of had blinders on for this character, but to their credit, they did give her a good send off that made me feel the feels. So credit to them. I didn't think she was capable of making me get emotional, which they definitely did. Also, I was not expecting the arrow. I was like, oh, she's gonna live through this episode. Whoopam!
Not gonna lie,
it was a good surprise actually, but it made sense. Yeah, I was like, whew, good. She is gonna die somehow, and it was by Stiorra's hand.
Gotta do the shock factor always for the Last Kingdom.
Gotta.
And let me ask you guys. I kind of felt stupid, but maybe not. Like I definitely wasn't expecting the arrow. It happened. I was like, oh, shit. They do specifically have the scene where Stiorra is just watching Uhtred as he leaves to go after Brida. And we probably should have known that she was going to follow him.
Oh,
I didn't even have that in my head at all.
No, I agree.
Like, I mean, that's the reason why she's watching him. But yeah, it's another hindsight thing.
But so as the arrow goes through, though, man, that scream by Uhtred, just of pure anger at his daughter, I live for that kind of shit. But that was amazing. And then as Brida dies, saying, I'm sorry, Uhtred gives her the blade. And then she says her last word, Ragnar.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be her daughter, but Ragnar's even cooler to me.
Yeah, I like it was Ragnar.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think we did it all justice. I mean, we gave Brida probably more justice than she deserves. So if we're good there, we can move on to episode 8.
Yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, let's get it.
So episode 8 picks off also right in Leeds, right here. Where it goes through the burial, right? Does she?
Yeah, he burns her. He burns her.
Yeah. So he gives her a little send off, and then we have the blow up conversation between Uhtred and Stiorra, and then this is where she says this one line. I wanted to just punch my TV when she says, "No one has felt pain like I endured." I was just like, "LO fucking L!" Like, are you kidding me, dude? Uhtred has gone through the worst thing ever. He was a slave for a little bit, watching his boys get murdered. Like, he has gone through multiple families getting slaughtered. This girl knows nothing. She's like 6 years old. She knows fucking nothing. I was just so infuriated that she's taking the Brida route. Like, she's so unnecessarily pissed off at Uhtred for being a target, is what she claimed, because she was just Sigtrygg's wife as the queen of the Danes. I don't know. And then she just turns her whole back on Destiny. She doesn't even fucking believe in Destiny.
It's all.
It's all.
It's all.
My God.
Yeah, I don't
Brian,
really have much to say.
No, Brian has something to say because he told me.
No, it's just enraging, man. Every single episode starts with Destiny is all. And she says explicitly, I don't believe in Destiny. What do you want me to say to that? That's like the ultimate betrayal of this show. And
did that just make her the main antagonist?
I think so.
In my eyes, yes.
Brida never said Destiny isn't all.
Yeah, she believed in Destiny, Brida.
I don't know. Yeah, Stiorra is just being super annoying, and we've already talked about. I think she's going to come back, but it's just bad decision one after another, and this is the classic route that they've taken with the Dane leader characters. It's the trajectory is you kind of like them in the beginning, you find some redeemable qualities. They become like a more likable character than you expect, and then they just like heel turn and start making these stupid, bold decisions out of anger and revenge and
pride.
Pride. And that's why none of them survive except for Sigtrigger, who was able to be smart and calculated for 8 years through the piece. And then the second when he let his emotions get the better of him, he died. Mm-hmm. It's really annoying, and Stiorra's just got to figure it out.
Yeah, and this is kind of why, and we talked about this for other characters before, like all the way back to Ethelwald when he was making certain decisions. It sucks that we really don't know ages. I don't know how old Stiorra is. Is she 30? Is she 16? Is she 21? We know 8 years went by from when she met Sigtrigger and was going to be betrothed to him or go and be his hostage, quote unquote, and till now. So she can't be in her teens probably. So she would have to be at least 25 or so. So if she's a kid, like I understand the whole, my dad wasn't around. Like I'm mad at him because he just always cared about, being a soldier and this and that. And, maybe the bitterness, that's fine. But she married Sigtrigger, a Dane, and she says she's a Dane. She above anyone should know that warriors go and fight. They don't always come home to the kids. It sucks, obviously, but I feel like she should be one of the ones who know that. And part of that conversation is, you weren't around and it sucked and that, this and that. And that part's okay. But then she just goes and goes and goes to adding all of it, piling it on. And that, like, even when she's like, and you were Alfred's bitch, pretty much. I forget exactly what she says, but she says something like that to him. Mm-hmm. And he was like, whoa, like, are you kidding me here? Like, this is ridiculous.
This is a bigger upset than Tom Brady coming back against the Falcons in the Super Bowl is Uhtred Jr. becoming the favorite kid over Stiorra.
Yeah, honestly.
I did not see this coming from we were talking about all of this in season 4. Holy shit.
Yeah, I do expect she has her turn back to the light, like Brian said.
Let's go through the Bebbanburg bucket because this episode's pretty easy. There's only 2 main settings that we have for scenes, and I think it makes sense just to go through the Bebbanburg stuff. It's shorter and it's less important, but it is all of the buildup of our antagonist here because it's, again, more insight into the relationship between the changing relationship between Ethelhelm and Whitgar, and they both fucking hate each other. And at the same time as their hatred is building towards each other, this is when Aelfwynn shows up. And I think this is the first time that Ethelhelm kind of is showing a little bit of compassion, but I don't know if it's just a front because him and Aelfwynn are like bonding about the passing of the queen, of course, and like this seemed the most genuine Ethelhelm has ever seen on screen. But again, I don't know if it's just part of the plan. He's playing it up, but he did kind of care about his daughter at points.
It's because it's his blood. I mean, he cares about his blood, and Aelfwynn at the end of the day is still his blood, and it's all favors his plan. So he would have eventually had to go out and look for Aelfwynn, but he doesn't have to do that now. He just arrived. So he was happy, yes, to see his blood, but he was also like, this is perfect because my plan can just move in action.
You just nailed it, Dave.
He does. I don't think this was part of the plan, though, is that Aelfwynn truly believes and only pins the death of his mother on the Danes, where I think Ethelhelm wanted him to have a little bit of like, partially it's Edward's fault to kind of build that hatred. And so this is like another, point for Aelfwynn not being super, super manipulatable, if that's the word.
Yeah.
Manipulatable.
Sure, we'll just throw it in the dictionary.
We like making up words on Bingetown.
So I think
I think Dave nailed it. Like Dave nailed it when he said, yes, Ethelhelm's happy to see Aelfwynn, but really he's just like, this is freaking perfect, man.
Yeah.
My heir that I want is just walking right into the Bebbanburg for me.
Left and Edward, like rides, that was a showing of, okay, this guy rides for me over Edward.
But yeah, he definitely cares about his grandson. He definitely cared about his daughter. it's, you can argue whether it's the same thing if you're caring more about yourself or your legacy or your blood, but either way, that's all in one spot right now. Him and his grandson are there, and he's living the dream in his own eyes. And then Aelfwynn shows up, and it's getting even better.
Yeah. And then, like they talk about plans constantly whenever they're in Bebbanburg, and you're just seeing the whole King Constantine plan. It keeps getting reiterated. Nothing too crazy here, except that Father Benedict hears this whole plan and then immediately leaves to go back to York. So good for him. His debts are cleared. He's no longer in gambling debt to Ethelhelm. And then he did deliver this news, and we find out later that he was willing to take punishment for it because he's just, I guess, he's trying to be a little bit more pure.
And shout out to Aldhelm for not actually punishing him. Like
later,
he said, these actions are
here.
punishable by the king. And then the next sentence he says is like, just get out of here and get safe. And I'm like, let's go, Aldhelm.
Aldhelm's
This shady priest has been such a plot mover. He was the one that disseminated the information that Ethelfled was dying.
Yep.
He was the one that showed Bressel the queen's body in Rumkova, and now he's the one revealing Ethelhelm's grand plan to Edward. Like,
and he brought Aelfwynn to Bebbanburg.
Yeah, true, exactly.
Yeah, you're totally right, man. He's been doing some things in the background. Just showing up in one season, couple episodes, doing the damn thing.
I've always liked Father Benedict. It's just that obviously he has ties with bad people because of his gambling debts. So he's a good man that's put in a position of his own undoing, which I'm glad that his debts are cleared now, and hopefully he can just stay loyal to one side now that he doesn't have to work for.
If he doesn't get killed,
I was going to say he might even just be done now. I think his purpose was served, and he's fleeing. But getting to the scene that you were talking about, Luke, where he leaves, when Benedict leaves, this scene here is funny because Whitgar is just making all these quips at Aelfwynn the entire time, because Aelfwynn and Ethelhelm are kind of talking back and forth about their plans or what they think's going to happen, this and that, and Whitgar and the rest of the guys know that Ethelhelm is full of shit. And everyone else is kind of just eating and being quiet. And Aelfwynn is very just like blind to everything, except like you said, Luke, he does get points for saying like, I don't think my dad would kill the queen. I don't think he would do that. Otherwise, he's just taking everything Ethelhelm's saying as gospel.
Yeah.
And Whitgar is just like giving these quips, just like, I don't even remember exactly what he's saying, but he's just stirring the pot, man.
And he gets louder and louder as he's saying it. To eventually, he's just like basically talking to them from on top of the
turds of Wessex. He says,
"Yeah,
I love that back and forth. Even like they hate each other, obviously, but when Whitgar gets introduced to Ethelhelm and he's like, "Who are you?" and is like, "Oh, I'm Whitgar of Bebbanburg." And he's like, "Oh, of Bebbanburg, like you're the one that's been tormenting Uhtred the whole time." And he just starts laughing. Like, I love that part too, even though fuck Ethelhelm, but that was a really good introduction between the two characters.
The only other thing that happens in Bebbanburg is just that final part where Aelfwynn shows up. They have the dinner, and then she threatens like, "Oh, I'd rather kill myself than marry King Constantine." And Ethelhelm's like, "Go do it then.
Yeah,
no one's gonna fucking stop you." And then it kind of fades away because she just crumbles and she will not do that.
Yeah, and then we do get that scene that I was talking about where Aelfwynn is there and she's saying, we're kin, help me. Like, this isn't right. And he's just like, pretty much just like, shut up and listen to Ethelhelm.
Yeah, but I guess that concludes that bucket, and it kind of brings us perfectly. Benedict arrives back to Uhtred's camp. Where would they be right now? Are they still in Efferwich? No, he would be in Leeds.
They're in York, right?
No, they're still in Efferwich, York. Yeah, they're still there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so Benedict goes there, and as I believe Uhtred has already decided, like, I can't entangle myself with these struggles anymore. I got to focus on keeping my daughter safe and my kin. Yes. And through the back of his, he's just eavesdropping. He hears Benedict say, all these troops are amassing in Bebbanburg, and his ears perk up like, are you kidding me? Bebbanburg of all places? Boy, that might just perfectly be the place that I could settle with my family. I'm sorry. The whole struggle he's been saying is he's been trying to get Sihtric and Finan on board to go back to Rumkova so that he can like resettle there and provide
safety.
Stiorra with a safe place just to get her bearings back and not become Brida 2.0. Whereas Sihtric and Finan are like, bro, like, you weren't there when we were there, but like Osfirth got slaughtered, all the Danes got slaughtered. That place has way too many ghosts and skeletons to be the safe place for refugees. But Uhtred doesn't have anywhere else to go. So he's trying to force them to go there. And then he hears this about Bebbanburg and the stars align, which brings us, I'm going to hand it over to Luke because I know you loved the conversation between Peerlig and Uhtred, where Peerlig just breaks it down with some shades of Father Biaka's wisdom. Man, that just was such an OG conversation.
It was just so amazing, them finally, like, in a meta way, talking about the two different religions of, there's no God, there's gods. And then Peerlig saying, well, whatever, just like when you go into this fight, just believe my God's on your side. Like, they have this whole super important philosophical conversation that's been the backbone of this show between the two cultures of Danes and Saxons. That's just absolutely amazing. And, like, I'm so happy I was wrong about Peerlig dying, because this conversation was so worth it. They talk about destiny because it's all, and it's just, it's fucking fantastic. Like, Peerlig is, and this is like a huge motivator, I think, for Uhtred's thinking for the whole rest of this episode and how it's going to carry into Bebbanburg and like him hopefully taking it back. But it's just good writing.
And I love that even though Uhtred is fighting back on what Father Peerlig is saying, Peerlig is just keeps hammering the destiny and the stars aligning for these moments, that it's just so hard for Uhtred not to believe that something out there is controlling his destiny. Like, not something out there controlling his destiny, but that this is all happening for a reason. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, Uhtred, like, this is your calling. And
they put words to what his destiny actually is for the first time, and it's set, and they're like theorizing, and I forget who says it, if it's either Uhtred or Peerlig, but basically they say, like, is it my destiny to complete England for Edward, or for is it
Alfred.
my destiny?
I think they say Edward.
I think they do say Edward. Yeah.
It would have been cooler if they said Alfred.
And in response to that, Uhtred just chuckles to himself and says, your God certainly has a sense of humor, doesn't he? Like, of course, it's all back to Bebbanburg in the end. That's why he failed the times before, because it was always destined to be right here and now.
Yep. And he even tells Peerlig, and when they're doing the back and forth between the gods and God, he says, how do I know that this isn't the gods teasing me or testing me with Bebbanburg, when really I should just take Stiorra and get her to safety? And Peerlig's like, well, what if it's not? What if it isn't them testing you? What if it is your destiny, bro? Like, it's just a nice back and forth. And I guess we can do a quick rewind, because we didn't talk about Aelswith and Edith coming back.
I'll take us through these, because there are some things that we missed, but it's fine because I just love talking about Uhtred. But okay, so what's happening for the other characters as all this is going on is we have Edward talking about Aelfwyn's betrayal with Lady of Kent. And
what's her name, dude?
I'm fresh off the episode and I still couldn't tell you. I know it's like EADG.
Eadgifu.
Yeah.
Eadgifu?
Edgifu. I think that's
Edward says something to his wife that I thought was just a really, really good quote. He just says that he's basically like theorizing of, what should I do? Should I am I going to go get revenge on Ethelhelm? Am I going to keep going for Alfred's full dream? And he ends up saying, like, I won 2 kingdoms that kings much greater than I could not. And I just love the acknowledgement of him always kind of being humble and not thinking he's too great. Like, and some of the kingdoms or kings that he's referring to is obviously his father. Like, he knows his father was a better king, and he's still willing to acknowledge that. And it's just like, that was just such a good quote that sums up that he is very introspective when he's thinking about his reign, because he's always a little self-conscious. Like when he talks with his wife, am I being too mean? Am I being too, so I just like that quote.
I really love Edward going through all this, because we've seen him grow so much, and the growth is honestly what is hindering him right now. In the past, he's learned to think about his actions and the consequences of them and learn from that. And now he's being pushed into a situation that he has to make a quick decision. And he's like, no, I really need to think on this, because this is what I've done in the past. Like, thinking on it rather than making rash decisions has hurt me in the past. And so he is really, and I understand where he's coming from by not wanting to rush right away, but the opening is just so there for the taking that he should obviously follow Uhtred, and I think he will. But I honestly do love how much of the pressure of the the kingship is having on Edward, because he's been through it all, through the bad and the good. He's developed into a great king, and these issues now are like, they're conflicting with how he's grown in the past.
The big boy decisions.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about the Lady of Kent Egifu conversation, because this is the conversation before Edward finds out that Aelfwynn was taken to Ethelhelm in Bebbanburg, and he's sitting there talking about how this is betrayal, and his son leaving him for Ethelhelm, who's a traitor, is just the worst thing you can do, and he's gonna have to cut him out, and this and that. And the Lady of Kent is saying, we're gonna have a son, and then they decide that pretty much they're gonna take out Aelfweird, and the son is gonna be the next heir. But the thing that you guys are referring to too is that he couldn't figure out what Ethelhelm's plan was. He was like, all right, he's luring me into a trap, but without Aelfwynn, what's the plan? Like, he can't figure it out. So he's like, I need to think on this. I'm not going to jump to action. I'm going to think. And then that's what leads to Aelswith and Edith coming in and giving him this information about Aelfwynn. And he freaks out because they're like, you got to go get Aelfwynn. This is crazy. Like, how are you saying no to this? And he's like, stop. He's like, I can't just jump to things. Ethelhelm wants me to jump to action. I need to think about this. And then we get to the part where Aelswith and Edith are going to decide that they need to ask Uhtred.
Yeah,
and
that's where we're at right here. Because
and that's where we get to. Yeah,
that conversation, though, I have to bring it up because we mentioned a couple times how Aelswith's been hilarious these 2 episodes.
Yeah,
and when she's talking about killing Bressel, she's like, "I was slaughtering a man with my bare hands," and Edith in the background just goes, "It's kind of an exaggeration."
Yeah, and then she's like, "I didn't even wear gloves."
Oh yeah, I
I'll
had
give
to
you
bring
some
that
credit,
up.
Aelswith.
Yeah,
and it's really funny because actually, earlier in the season, when she's like being a hypochondriac and Ethelfled is praying, she's like, "Look after my brother Edward," and then she's like, "And look after my mother." And Aelswith walks up and she's like, What's going on? Why does he have to look after me? I'm not sick. Am I okay?" And then she's like, "Does this look white?" And then she like sticks her tongue out. And I tweeted, I was like, I'm actually laughing at Aelswith. And then somebody tweeted back at us saying, and I didn't even wear gloves, and I didn't even know what they were talking about because that was literally. So now I know that it's hilarious.
That's so good, man.
Yeah,
I think we pretty much hit everything before this final scene. The one thing I will say is, there was that quick flash of seeing Sig Bros living his best life through all this chaos, and then also, I think it's important to note that Uhtred doesn't tell Uhtred Jr. how Brida died, like doesn't put that blame on Stiorra, but does put him at ease, saying that he didn't kill her.
right.
So that's good that Uhtred Jr.'s like perception of his father isn't changed. Like, it's still positive. And then the last thing that happens before we can jump into this final scene is we get that quick flash over to the Kingdom of Scotia where we see King Constantine. Nothing crazy happens. It's just continue on business as usual with him rallying the banners and getting ready to go through with Ethelhelm's plan and go to war with Edward. So those pieces are still moving. But now we get to, in my opinion, top 3 best scenes of this entire show. Like, this scene is just the pinnacle of this show. It's just the culmination. I already said it earlier, the culmination of all of these different characters who had all of these crazy different plot arcs to get them to this point, all rallying behind our main character who knows he's right, who knows he needs to complete his destiny and become Uhtred of Bebbanburg. And just, it was amazing seeing all this happen, of just every single character putting in their input.
Even Aelswith.
We got Edith in the background. Of course, the boys, Finnan and Sigtrick, are there. Like, and then it comes down to Ethelstan, but I don't want to go too far into it. Somebody else stop me because I'll just keep gushing.
I remember back in like season 2 when Aelswith was really one of our most hated characters. We said something along the lines of, we're never going to start liking her until she says completely like, screw my faith, I'm putting all my marbles behind Uhtred, and she's literally doing it right now. Luke, I couldn't agree more. This is a really powerful scene. It felt like the episode before the Battle of Winterfell, like the Night of the Seven Kingdoms in Game of Thrones, where just everybody was under one roof. You understood it was right before shit is about to hit the fans in the next 2 episodes, and you just get an appreciation for everything that these characters have been through that got them in this position, and they're all just presenting a united front, arguing pro destiny. Like, Edward, you got to understand, the stars are aligning to finally give Uhtred of Bebbanburg back. Like, it couldn't be any more perfect. And have we said the counter argument that Edward is pitching?
No, I don't think so.
No, not yet.
Okay, I could take it. So Edward essentially, and this is a running theme with Edward, is that he always seeks peace. He's really avoidant to any violence of any sort. So he says, okay, I understand that to quell this feud in any capacity, there's going to be bloodshed. So I want to seek out the path that is most peaceful to avoid any violence. So he says, I'll let Constantine marry Aelfwynn, I believe, and then we will split the Northumbrian kingdom in half, giving them the eastern portion, including Bebbanburg and the land surrounding it, whereas the western portion of Northumbria will remain under Wessex's crown or whatever. And all of them in the room are viscerally opposed to that plan. Aelswith is clearly like, and you're just going to let Aelfwynn be a slave to marriage, and Constantine and a Scot, yada, yada, yada. Uhtred is, oh my gosh, he must have just puked in the waste bucket like Bebbanburg to the Scots. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, right.
My Uhtred, my dad's spinning in his grave, man. Are you kidding me? Everybody is just so opposed to this plan, and it was great. It was great.
It feels like all the, sorry, Jimmy, to cut you off. I just want to get this out there. That
it's pretty rude, but
it feels like all the hate for Aelswith was meant for this one moment. Like, as the viewers, it's the culmination. Like, even Edward is aware that Aelswith is not the biggest fan of Uhtred. So there's all this hate from both the viewers and Aelswith of like that we know that she hates him. And it's in this one moment where it's like, okay, I'm giving Uhtred everything right now. It just feels like the writers did it on purpose to show that anyone can make a 180 on a character,
Yeah,
so
that's actually a great point. It really emphasizes it, and it's kind of just showing that Uhtred is just objectively right.
Yeah,
rather than it just being up for debate.
Yeah, and to Edward's credit, he does say it's a good plan. But then what he says is, the problem here is, Uhtred, that your son is seedless and your daughter is exiled. You don't have an heir. And if you're the king of Bebbanburg for however long, yeah, that's great. But peace won't reign for time and time again unless you have heirs, and you don't. So we're done.
King Edward clearly does not listen to the Bingetown TV podcast, because he would have heard about the secret son that he has in hiding.
Yep. And I was actually wondering if Uhtred was going to be like, all right, Edward, I actually do have somebody we can talk about right here, but he doesn't. So, the kid doesn't even get brought up in these 2 episodes.
But that's got to be the plan, man. That's got to be the plan.
And it's so funny. Like, we're talking about it and we're saying the only purpose has to be the heir situation. And as soon as Edward, those words came out of his mouth, I was like, all right. So the other thing I was going to say, you guys nailed it pretty much. I was worried for Finan, because Finan, everyone is kind of just like being like, with respect, King, we don't think that you're right. Like, we think Uhtred's right. And Finan just like comes at him. I forget what the insult is, but he hits him with an insult. And then he says,
things really aren't going your way there, King?
Yeah.
Come on, Finan, way out of pocket.
Dude, with 2 episodes left in the series and where everyone's dying left and right, I was like, don't you dare say that, Finan. Don't you dare. And he gets hit. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then we're sitting there and we're wondering, Aldhelm had one of the best parts of this thing where he's like, Mercian's army is on Uhtred's side. They are not on your side. And then he's like, all right, you guys are going to be locked into this place. You're not leaving. And he goes, all right, well, the Mercian guard is going to knock this freaking door down. I was like, let's go, Aldhelm.
Love Aldhelm.
One of the coolest things, I don't know if I'm misremembering this because I'm just making it more poetic in my head, but I'm pretty sure as the scene was going on and we're going through the different leaders, I guess, in the room, it's kind of like the body language of the room starts shifting, where everyone starts kind of piling behind Uhtred physically.
100%.
Physically. So it's like Aldhelm started it off incredible. Then Aelswith jumps in with Edith backing her up, and she even invokes Alfred's name and like his like whole legacy, which is just fuck yeah, like absolutely
Alfred
keep Alfred in
died
spirit
for this
there.
man, basically.
Yes. Then Finn and
Aelswith,
yeah, go ahead.
Aelswith is really the only one that can be a proxy to Alfred's legacy right
course.
now and his desires.
That's why I was saying all that hatred was meant for literally this
That moment.
Yeah, true.
Finn and
I mean,
Sigtrix.
she says something along the lines of like, while you are wrong in this situation, we're not saying like you're a bad king or something, whatever it is. Do you remember the line, Brian?
I think it's you're not wrong. You're just mistaken in this situation.
Exactly. So
It's
she
like-
actually, and it's a mother who can say like that, like you're wrong, dude. You know?
So after all these people are gathering behind him, and the person that we did miss, which I think is really important, is Father Pierlig steps up because he is literally Edward's Bianca. Like he is his advisor. And in this situation, he just makes it so verbal, like, I'm with Uhtred for this. And this all ties back to that conversation they had earlier. And Father Pierlig just rides for Uhtred like Bianca did. And that's just such an amazing moment. Another powerful person on that side. And as soon as like this ensemble of badass people are just like sitting there waiting for Edward's reaction, it is so amazing, man. It's just like dead silent. And he has his ring and he's just tapping the fucking throne over and over. And I was just gushing. I was like, this is so masterfully done. And it all ends with him turning this conversation. He turns and looks to his left as the last person who needs to decide what side he's on. Is Athelstan, who is half Dane, half Saxon in a way through Uhtred's upbringing and then being the son of Edward. And the fact that Edward over these last couple episodes has been getting more respect for him, and like he appreciates Athelstan and wants him to like lead his guard and stuff. All of that's amazing. And everyone's just like holding their breath, like, what the fuck is Athelstan gonna do? And Uhtred just shuts his mouth, like looks him in the eye, and Athelstan just delivers this amazing speech about just being with Uhtred. And it's just the final straw that kind of just cements this squad that's gonna be anti-Edward, and it causes Edward to have that like last second like freak out. Says he just kind of goes off the deep end temporarily, and he's just like, if anyone that's on this side doesn't leave by the morning, they're going to be executed. And then Uhtred, of course, goes and says like, all right, well, this is our mission. You're either with us or against us. We will not be here in the morning. We're going to Bebbanburg. And it's just like a mic drop moment. And this show is just so peak.
I obviously think Edward will help out. I think Athelstan being the deciding factor. What I was thinking through that whole conversation with him and Athelstan was the conversation they had a couple episodes ago where he's talking about who can I trust if not for my own kin, my own son. Yeah. And if it just really rung for me in this scene because like he can go and not trust all these people, that's fine, but it's his blood that he trusts the most. And for Athelstan to make that decision to cross over to Uhtred's side, it's just I think Edward will get like a good night of sleep or something, you know, and wake up and be like, you know what? You guys are right. Let's get the whole squad finally complete. Let's have me in there. And let's just ride to Bebbanburg and fuck shit up.
He may actually leave this room of all this tension where he has to pretty much be on as the king. And it could be our girl, Lady of Kent, that's like, hey, this actually does seem right. Because she recently has been the one who's been giving him his counsel that he actually listens to.
Yeah. I'm praying for it, man. I don't want Edward to be an obstacle. Like, iron this out in episode 9.
I will say, Jimmy, just another knock against trailers. In the trailers, there's a definitive Edward saying, so then, Lord Uhtred, to Bebbanburg.
Oh, yeah.
Come the fuck on.
So now you know the deal.
It's a little BS. Yeah. I want it on the record. I don't want to do trailer covers for any show going forward. I think trailers are lame.
All right.
That's allowable. I mean, I think they're different from movies because you're seeing the movie all in one shot. I mean, I guess during the movie it could kind of spoil something for you, but a show is a lot easier to accidentally spoil. And that is a shame because I don't even remember that part of the trailer because it's been so long. I only watched it once for the pod and kind of let it go for that exact reason. Like I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, true.
Fuck, boys, this is it. We've been waiting for, dude. We're finally going back to Bebbanburg.
I was telling them before I hopped on midway through that I wasn't supposed to be on the podcast, and they were like, "Oh, like you want to say some things?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll say a couple things." In my head, planning to just go right into episode 9, and they're like, "Oh, you might as well say." And I was like, I guess, like I'll do the podcast, I guess, you know. But fuck, man, these might be two of the like my favorite episodes. Like these moments that happen in these past 2 episodes are going to resonate with the moments of like Alfred dying, Ethelfled dying.
Yeah.
Wow,
scenes. Like,
really?
I just really think that like that shot of everyone behind Uhtred is one that's going to, like, when I think of The Last King, that's going to be one of the first things that comes into my mind is that shot right there. And then Brida dying, getting the closure on that finally after 5 seasons. Like, it was just, this was the peak of The Last Kingdom.
And for what it's worth, I would put this. The more I'm thinking about it, I think this scene and then the Alfred and Uhtred conversation that happens before Alfred dies are my 2 favorite single scenes of the show.
Yeah, I think the Alfred scene's still number 1 for me, but this is definitely very
close.
Very top.
Dude, this is like an Avengers moment, baby.
Yeah, Avengers Assemble, baby.
It is. It literally is.
We're just missing Hild, who's gonna roll up with the kid later.
She's rolling up with young Ragnar, Leah Fritsch, Alfred, Osbert, one of them. So all right, here we go. We got 2 episodes. We know that The Last Kingdom can make 2 episodes seem like an entire season, but we know the plan is that they're gonna cut off Bebbanburg before the king Constantine realizes what's going on. So he'll basically know that he's not gonna have that alliance, pretty much. Like they're gonna take Bebbanburg back, they're gonna take Aelfwynn back, and it's kind of gonna stop the deal between Ethelhelm and Constantine. So do we think that we're focusing, just like you said, Brian, to Bebbanburg? Are we gonna focus on just stopping Bebbanburg and Whitgar and Ethelhelm and all this shit, and Constantine isn't even going to be too big of a thing? Do you think the deal's going to be that we stop Bebbanburg and then Constantine's going to be like, all right, I'm out, and then he's kind of done?
So yeah, the only reason I do think that's a possibility is because I think there was a line in this episode, or maybe it was episode 7, where Edward makes a point, or maybe it's Uhtred saying, King Constantine strikes me as the kind of guy who only looks out for his current Scotia territories above all else. So if we're able to cut this off, then he probably won't pursue advancing his territories anymore. He'll just hold his own borders and call it quits at that, which could work in their benefit for just uniting all of England. So that is kind of where I think it's heading. He also doesn't strike me as someone who's going to die on behalf of Ethelhelm. Like if things go south in Bebbanburg, he's going to be like, all right, Scots, we're going back up north. We're going to hold it down. Whitgar and Ethelhelm can fend for yourself.
I totally see it, like Bebbanburg finally being wrapped up at the series finale, and then the movie incorporating something with the Scots. Like we got a shot of London being a big mark for Ethelhelm's plans going forward. So interesting to see if, I think that will play a big role in the movie as well. So I think the movie will focus more on like the actual world rather than the internal strifes of Wessex, like Dane and Saxon kind of things. Like I think we'll get big picture stuff in the movie.
I think it's such an easy win to have King Constantine around for the movie. Big player, doesn't need to die.
He will.
I like him a lot as a character and an actor.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, let's have a little fun here. I just want to do a quick. We had just a yes or no. I don't need any reasons. We're doing a mini Deadpool here, okay? I just want to name some people.
Perfect.
Okay. Do you have a list, Luke, or do you want me to just name some people?
I was just going to bring up, I would say I want deaths, predictions, and then guaranteed safety predictions. So basically the same thing.
Okay. All right. So let's do it. We'll start off Ethelhelm. Yes or no?
Dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Elf Weird.
Dead.
Alive.
I'm just gonna say dead because there's just a higher chance of him dying. Okay, dead.
I'm gonna say dead. Let's go with Finnan.
Dead.
Dead.
But I'm gonna say that Uhtred gets his happy ending. He gets Bebbanburg, and he has the best friend that could ever exist with him. But that's it. Nobody else is gonna make it with him.
Give me it. I'm saying alive.
Baby.
Alive.
I'm already gearing myself up to cry because Finnan and Sihtric are both gonna die in this.
Okay, so that's the next question. Sihtric.
Yes, they're both not making it out.
Sihtric is alive, I think.
Okay,
One
I'm
of
saying
the two,
dead. Yeah.
One of the two is making it out, and I think people care more about Finnan than Sihtric, so that would be a more powerful death.
Okay.
So I'm going to do the opposite reasoning and say Sihtric is going to die. That's
okay.
Okay, so me and you are of singular minds here.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Peer League.
Alive.
Alive.
Okay. Anybody else we want to talk about here?
Let's do. Is Whitgar making it out of this?
No.
Dead.
No, dead. Stiorra.
Look at this fucking guy.
I didn't even
G-Tom thinks
notice you're making that
Whitgar's gonna
face.
live.
He's
How
a
does Uhtred take
slimy
Bebbanburg?
little snake, dude. Nah, Wickar's dead.
Okay, Stiorra.
Alive.
Alive.
Redemption. Yeah.
Young Uhtred.
Alive.
Do we have any others that we want to bring up?
Uhtred himself. Everyone same
Alive.
page.
Yeah,
Alive.
alive. Yeah.
G-Tom's?
Alive.
He'll
He's
fucking give you that
alive.
face.
Okay.
Hild.
Alive. Old Helm.
Don't even
Old
play.
Helm.
Old Helm's a good one that could just be killed off
That
to make
is
us
a
cry.
I think he's gonna die
Oh,
my
no!
God. Oh
I
my
can't
God.
believe I
He
didn't say
might.
Old Helm.
because
He might.
we've seen the trajectory of like when characters really
He's
don't
gonna
have
save
a purpose.
Aelfwynn. He's gonna
Yup.
save Aelfwynn. He's gonna take the
But then-
bullet
yeah.
for Aelfwynn.
That's what I'm
Dave,
saying.
no!
That's what I'm saying. When characters have run their course on the show and they're kind of in this limbo of like their journey's been come to a close and they're just limbo of what's next.
They die.
It's
Yeah.
death. And Aldhelm, I see in that category of just he already said he wasn't going to serve Edward kind of thing. You know, he doesn't have Ethelfled anymore. I mean, sure, he's all for Mercia, but there's other people who can replace him being all for Mercia. Unfortunately, I think Aldhelm's getting the axe.
Are we gonna have a Lady Mormont and Aelfwynn just get destroyed, or is she
That-
alive?
She's probably gonna live.
Yeah, I
Aelfwynn
say
should
she
be
lives.
alive.
I
And
say
then
she
how
lives.
about the actual main character, Ethelstan, alive?
Alive.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plot armor.
But
I
damn,
don't know.
baby,
I think
it
that's
seems
good
like
enough.
Finn,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. Finnan and Stick Trick is gonna be the one, man. I am praying one of them makes it out, but I don't know, bro.
Oh gosh,
and now
I wonder
add
if at
Aldhelm
least
to
have
that
his
list
good
too,
friend.
because Jesus,
Yeah.
I'm scared for him.
All right. One last thing, guys. We don't have to go too much into it. I just want it on the board. If the child exists, which at this point I think we all agree that it does exist and is going to be the heir of Bebbanburg, what is his name? And we need to bring up the fact that Brian, right after the podcast, was like, how the hell do we not say Ragnar? So that is a major issue for us. I can't believe we didn't say it, but
So
now
just
we're going to
final-
talk about it.
Final guesses on the board right now.
Final
for all of us.
guesses. You don't even have to give too much of a reason if you don't want to. Just throw it out there.
Ragnar's a good one. B-Toms. I'll shout that out. That's my second one, but I'm going to say Alfred. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay.
Luke?
I think it's probably going to be Leorfrich if he is a character, but I'll also say that there's a chance that Ethelstan ends up being the one that can be the heir to Bebbanburg after Uhtred, and it would count for Edward if he goes that route.
Okay. And you're saying that he could be the heir just because he's like a son to Uhtred?
He's like a son to Uhtred, and Edward would trust that he would have
I mean, I
kids
get-
and
yeah,
hold
and
a
I'm-
peace.
I guess Uhtred as the heir can say my next heir will be Ethelstan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
Okay.
But I do think it's going to be Leorfrich if the kid comes into play.
Okay.
B-Toms. Sticking with what you said after pod.
Man. So I was about to say he's going to name him Uhtred, but I don't think he would do that to current Uhtred Jr. the same
So we
way
also know that
his
there was
father
another
did.
Uhtred too. His first son was Uhtred,
Oh, that's
baby that died.
True. Yeah.
so he has like 15 Uhtred's.
Ragnar Uhtredson.
He's like freaking Magic John, or no, George Foreman. George
Yeah,
Foreman
George
has 5 kids. They're all named George Foreman.
I'm gonna go with. Ah, shit, man.
It's tough.
I'm gonna go with Ragnar.
Okay.
Ragnar
3 different
Uhtredson.
guesses. Jimmy, what do
All
you
right,
say?
all right. I'm gonna finish this off with a different guess. All 4 of us. I said it before. I want to go with Osbert. I think it's Dark Horse, so I'm just gonna go with it. And my reasoning here is I don't think it's Alfred because Alfred was alive when the kid was born. I don't think it's who was the other one that we? Oh, I don't think it's Biaka for the same reason.
Would Ragnar have been alive? when
Yeah,
the
so
kid was
that, but
born?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So Ragnar would have been alive technically, but it's
It's
still
more
your
likely, yeah.
father like.
Yeah, it's
you
on
know,
the table.
Ragnar the Fearless is still like a father you're naming him after. So I'm okay with
Yeah.
Ragnar. Ragnar, honestly, is probably my second choice. I feel like Leofrich and Ragnar are both more fan service than actual. Like they have reasons, obviously. Like Leofrich was his boy, and Ragnar is
Mhm.
his brother and his dad. But I just think, even though we did make the argument, I was the one who freaking made it, that Osbert is more of like, you know, a slight to him and has always been a mockery. I do think it's kind of like a full circle thing, or maybe it's just another way of naming him after himself without
Mhm.
saying you're Uhtred. So it's like saying Uhtred Jr., except it's his actual name. And most people besides him at this point, and because Bianca's dead, don't even know that he was Osbert.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would be okay, and it's not necessarily like announcing a mockery or anything. I like the full circle of it. I do think it's a dark horse, though. I think my second choice would be Ragnar, though.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys.
Man, that's 2 more episodes, dude. Next time we talk, we will have finished the show. I can't believe that.
Oh my gosh. This was such a fun show, guys. I'm so happy that you guys loved the pilot so that we can continue. I'm so happy that the listeners loved listening and they asked us to do these season recaps because this has definitely been one of the most fun pods I've done.
Easily.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved it. This
The
was
same
like
vibe as. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
No, this was just a show that came out of left field for me. Like I just didn't expect to really love it as much as I did.
Yeah, 100%.
Recording it kind of has the same vibe as Spartacus used to. You know, it's just that I just get this show, man. It's and the writing is just so. It's a good show, you know. Watching a good show like this really I just don't take it for granted. You know, the enjoyment that I get, the things that I'm feeling watching this show. It doesn't happen all the time, so I'm really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Even though Stiorra tries to tell us Destiny is not all, Destiny is all. And I hope that Destiny is not cruel. We need some of our homies to stay alive in the next 2 episodes. I believe all 4 of us are going to be watching almost immediately, and we will be texting about it, and we will be recording ASAP so that we can get this one out because we're going to want to talk about it as soon as possible. But guys, thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, check us out at BingetownTV.com. Also, if you like what you heard, you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We appreciate every single new subscriber. We are going to start putting all of our new shows on YouTube. As long as it's a new show, it's coming on for the most part. If you're a listener on the podcast, any of your podcast apps, you can check us out on there. 5-star review, subscribe. We really, really appreciate every single subscriber. If you would like to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/BingetownTV. All of our exclusive content, all of our exclusive interviews with the stars of some of your favorite shows are on that. It's definitely going to be something that we add a lot to very soon. So guys, jump on that. It's patreon.com/BingetownTV. All of our socials are at BingetownTV, especially now we are jumping on the Twitter because we love Twitter with the engagement and talking to everyone back and forth with theories. And we've had so many people hitting us up about our theories, about our videos, about our audio, just saying, you know, great job, or like, think about this, think about that. And we talk about it on the pod. So we have a lot of fun with that. We will answer every single person. If you hit us up, we will answer. All right, guys, we are Bingetown TV. Destiny is all, Destiny is cruel. And thank you so much for listening.